The buyer side of this business is being replaced by AI in real time, and most agents are still pretending it's not happening. The agents who see it are pivoting, and the ones still chasing buyer leads will be out of business by 2027. So here's the 90-day move that gets you on the right side of this shift. Imagine you're driving across town to show your fourth buyer this weekend. You're going to spend at least $40 in gas. You're going to lose your Saturday, and there's a 70% chance that the buyer buys from someone else, or maybe not at all. Meanwhile, the agents pivoting to listings only in 2026 are taking Saturday off, getting paid twice on every transaction, and quietly building businesses that compound while you grind away. So here's the case for going listings only and how to actually make that switch.
Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS authentic real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Now, when we've had conversations with all of you about this very topic before, the first thing that people will always say is there aren't enough listings to go around. That is what everyone always says when Julie and I talk about this. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do a little bit of facting on that objection that some of you will use as your excuse not to go after listings primarily in your real estate business. And here it is. I want you, I'll give you actually, if we just look at pure numbers, that by itself will prove the case. There's going to be 4.5 million home sales this year. There are roughly, let's say, 1.3 or 1.4 members and a million members in the National Association of Realtors. Remember, you can have a real estate license and not be a member, but let's just focus on this 1.3 or 1.4. Last year, what was it, Julie? 80% of all agents didn't sell a single house.
73%.
73% didn't sell a single house. So if you actually look at the numbers and then you really kind of drill down to see what percent of agents are selling one house, two house, three house. Like I know in our EXP Realty group in the last 12 months, the average agent, this is over 3,200 agents, has sold an average of 6 homes. So that's pretty incredible, isn't it? So where I'm going with all this is if you really were to drill down on the numbers and you were to figure out how many of the houses that were sold were listings, okay, it should be fairly easy, right? 4 million, 4.5 million. But then how many how many agents do we have that are actually active? So if we go from 1.3 to 1.4, we knock out 73%, then we use the number that's left, and you're going to see there are more than enough listings to go around. Now, I'll give you some secondary proof to invalidate that claim that you have given yourself or the excuse you've given yourself not to be a listing agent. Here it is. Jolie knows what I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. Go to your MLS right now. And I want you to search in your MLS for all the expireds in the last 12 months. Just search by expireds. That's it. I know what some of you are going to do. You're going to make it so the area is just your tiny little community of 300 homes. Nope. I want you to do all expireds in your entire MLS because what we're doing is facting and we're looking for actually what's happening in the market. All the MLS, your entire area, all codes, all real estate. You could throw commercial in there if you wanted to. Probably not though. Land, lots, multifamily, anything.
Some of them don't know how to even do what you're saying. When you do your normal search, remove any area codes, and instead of saying active in the dropdown, you just say expired.
Well, I'll tell you what I would do if you don't know how to use it. Go to Claude and use the Claude tool use the Chrome tool and the Claude Chrome skill and open up on your Chrome browser log into your MLS and then ask Claude to go in there and do this work for you. And there you go. Okay. So here's what.
So no excuses is the bottom line.
There's no excuses. So #1, I want you to tell me how many expireds there were in the last 12 months. You can even push it back to 24. 24 would be kind of interesting for the second request I have of all of you. So now you know how many expireds there have been. I want you to look to see how many of those expireds were relisted and closed within 6 months from their expiration date. I'll tell you what you'll find. 90% of all expireds are relisted and sold within 6 months of their original expired date. Okay, want some more fun facts? In the market right now, it's projected that 43% of all homes currently for sale are going to expire. Now, in some markets, it's over 50%. 100% guarantee you that's true. Bottom line, there is not a shortage of listings available to sell. There's a shortage of agents that know how to go after those listings. And it's being a listing agent right now, going after expireds primarily. It's the single best opportunity in real estate. I would say the bigger opportunity was way back in 2007, 2008, if you were learned how to do short sales. But other than that, this is the single best opportunity to become a listing agent because of the fact there's so many expireds and because of the fact there's so many agents out there that frankly don't have the skill set to get their listings sold, get them priced right, conditioned right, positioned right, the whole thing, and get them sold. Understanding what I'm saying here. So if you really were to do the math on all of this and you're trying to compare working with sellers and working with buyers, and you have to choose where are you going to put your best efforts every day, it's worth noting. I heard this my whole life and I never believed it was true. And now that I'd say middle-aged, I could verify it's true. Everyone, now when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, that's not true. But now I look back over my shoulder, I could tell you this, that everyone, no matter what your age is, you have maybe 3 hours of really productive time where you can really focus and get stuff done at a high level. Now, when you're younger, you might actually have more energy, more vigor, as it were. But the reality of it is that you have more distractions. Maybe it's kids, maybe it's the other things. So one way or the other, most people, best case, can work really focused for 3 hours. If you do it 3 hours in a row, that's even better with breaks and all the rest of it. But that's it. That's all we're given a day. And maybe it's less, maybe it's more, adjust accordingly. So you have 3 hours a day of really the best. Your hormones are great. Mornings usually are best for all of us. Hormones are great. Focus is great. You haven't been, avalanched with a bunch of Mickey Mouse from your email, or you haven't
You're
logged
caffeinated.
Right, exactly. All right, now, what do you do with all this? You need to be thinking about where am I going to put that 3 hours of really high octane effort every single day. You're going to put them towards buyers, you're going to put them towards sellers, which leads us back into the simple fact, and we won't belabor this point because we did a lot in the earlier shows this week. The simple fact is there's no such thing as a buyer that has to buy. Buyers can always stay put. They can always rent. They can always stay living with their parents. They can just decide to wait another year, wait until after the holidays, wait for interest rates to drop, wait. And unfortunately, a lot of you are dealing with right now buyers that you did not pre-qualify, that are frankly not going to be able to financially buy a house because you didn't pre-qualify them using our scripts. But number two, that are just going to change their minds. And I'll tell you where it happens. Midsummer, a lot of them drop off. We're going to wait until after the fill in the blank. Then they're going to look for maybe a week or two, and then they have other things. Kids are going back to school. Then the holidays. Then I'll see you in the spring next year.
Super predictable.
Right, exactly. It happens every year. So your 20 great buyers, your 10 great buyers, if you're lucky, becomes 2. And you wonder where all your nights, your weekends, and your cash flow went. And then you're in your mind, you're saying to yourself, but I've got those 18 other buyers that are going to buy from me next year. No, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to end up working with another agent. They're going to decide just all the things. That's the reason we want you focusing those 3 hours of productive time you have every day, primarily on listings. What do you think of Jules?
Well, I'm thinking that there are two versions of this. One is if you are in production and you are sitting on listings and they are not selling for you, and while they're not selling, you're not generating from your listing, you're doing it wrong. Some of you have been stuck in this whole, like when the market was hotter and we had less inventory, you could just take a listing and be sold by Monday, right? That was the drill, wasn't it? You'd put it on Thursday, you'd show your buyers on Friday, you'd have a neighborhood open on Saturday, a real open on Sunday, and you'd definitely be in contract with multiple offers by Monday, right? It was easy peasy, lather, rinse, repeat. And you got used to it. And for probably, if we're being honest, maybe as long as 5 years, some of you, that was the drill during COVID, pulling out of COVID, even before COVID when we had less inventory. And that's how you think you're supposed to treat a listing. And those are the same agents who are freaking out because their listings are not sold after 30 days, after 60 days, after 180 days. Like, what are you going to do with yourself?
Hey, this is a good opportunity. We just updated. We have a new book. It's available for Premier Coaching. I just posted it yesterday, Julie. It's called your 180-day seller communication plan. Now, those of you who've been with us for a while, you know that it used to be 120 days. So now we've extended it to 180 days. Yes. So it's what you should be doing every single day, what you should be, well, once a week, what the sellers are expecting. We designed this book, updated it. It also has an interactive aspect, so you can keep it open on your browser and you can just go back and it'll give you it's an interactive checklist. It walks you through, everything. Here's the script. Here's what you say this week. What we designed this for is for you to show this to your sellers how you're going to be planning on communicating with them while you have the house listed. Why are we doing that? Because what you'll discover when you start going after any sellers, but expireds in particular, is the number one complaint that they have. They could love the agent, best agent ever, blah, 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 blah. Number one complaint they always have, and this is true and has been true forever, always will be true forever, is I had really bad communication from my agent. Right? That's true with expireds. That's true with buyers. That's true with just everybody. They really, really don't like the level of communication that agents provide. So that's the reason we created the guide for you. And it's something you can show to sellers. It's a unique selling proposition, USP, when you're competing for a listing. So that is on Premier Coaching. And you can join Premier Coaching right now by going to premiercoaching.com, premiercoaching.com. Julie, can you message me?
Sure.
Make sure that the most updated version is on PC because we fixed some glitches in the code on the interactive part. Okay. Don't let me forget. Thank you. Yeah. So you can go to premiercoaching.com or and you don't have, it doesn't matter what broker you're affiliated with. I have to make that clear. We obviously have thousands of agents in our coaching program, and not all of them are in Premier Coaching. But if you'd like to join us at EXP, we have thousands of agents in Premier Coaching, and not all of them are with EXP Realty, is what I meant to say. Julie and I are with EXP Realty. And if you'd like to align with Julie and I and join with us at EXP Realty and get Premier Coaching for free, which includes what I'm talking about now, you can just text me directly at 512-758-0206. 512-758-0206. So join Premier Coaching to get our 180-day seller communication plan or our 6-month seller communication plan, or you can join us at EXP and you get Premier Coaching for free. There you go. All right.
Okay, so let's have our mindset shift moment.
Uh-oh.
Yes, use the 180-day plan. It tells you, it's a USP to show your seller clients that you plan on communicating. It also sets the mindset that it's probably not going to sell overnight. Adjust accordingly. There are still some pockets where that's true. But most importantly, a mindset shift for listing agents who are not having their listings sell immediately. While they are sitting there, there is a hidden blessing to longer days on the market, which is you now have time to lead generate off of your signs, your home brochures, your open houses, your neighborhood open houses, your coming soon, all of the things that you literally didn't have time to execute on during the hotter market. That was a hidden frustration to the lather, rinse, repeat hamster wheel that you were on when things were selling quickly. So if you are sitting on listings and you are not creating, remember the saying is, one of the reasons you're a listing agent, why do you want to be a listing agent? Because listings create business for you, but only when you do it right. Only when you don't just go to bed every night praying to the real estate gods that somehow it sells, even though you've been sitting on it for a while. Your job is to create 1 or 2 or 3. I remember when we were selling real estate, sometimes we'd do 4 and 5 deals off of each listing because of the open house traffic, the lead follow-up that we did, the door knocking before the open house. I wrote down, I've got a couple of examples. One of the ones that I remember the most, Sue and Rachel Romans in Wisconsin. When they were getting a listing for sale, I think it was them that I'm remembering correctly.
Julie, you're making me nervous with that pen. You're going to put permanent marker on your face. I guarantee
no, it's not open. I was just using it to talk with.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Now I'm not going to magically give myself a mustache.
Those of you guys who are watching, Julie was talking demonstratively with her hands carrying a black Sharpie. And I was just going to imagine she was going to give herself stripes. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Well, they're planting a sign. One of the neighbors comes over. Oh, so you're listing this new one. They start a conversation. As it turns out, that person was absolutely going to be the next one to list. And why are they talking to Sue and Rachel? Because guess what? They left 3 messages for different agents. One of them was their previous agent. Nobody had called them back yet. So what would happen if every time you take a new listing, you would get in front of that, you would think of Sue and Rachel, you would remember that. That's why we tell you these real world stories. And you would, in fact, go and door knock that whole neighborhood announcing and giving them your home brochure. I just wanted to connect with you and let you know that I'm the listing agent on the next listing that's going live tomorrow. And in fact, I'm having an open house on Sunday. So I wanted to reach out and find out, who do you know who I should be calling about this home in your beautiful neighborhood? How many more deals would you do if you just did that, listing agents? So I think that there's 2 parts to this, Tim. There's existing listing agents who get this, but have maybe either gotten away from working the listing, and everything I'm talking about to generate business for you is also promoting your listing, which is what you promised to that seller. So you're kind of handling both things. So that's one thing, is if you already know this mousetrap works, but you've gotten away from working it. And how do you know? You know, if you're sitting on a listing or listings or 10 or 20, one of my coaching clients has 63 right now. If you're not generating calls and incoming inquiries from each listing, that isn't just, here's the price, click. You're using scripts that generate and bring you to another appointment, then you're not doing it right. This is one of the reasons why people come to elite coaching, is they've got that part figured out, but they want to monetize and optimize everything that they're already good at. They just need to take it to the next level. So that's like a certain level of agent. I think you'll agree, argue with me if not. Then you have other agents that are just having the light bulb go off that the lifestyle of a listing agent is so much superior to being dependent on buyers and the buyer drill. And are they going to buy? Are they going to buy with you? Are they going to buy with Century?
Not to mention referral fees, Jules.
Not to mention what it costs you to get them in the first place.
Well, do you mind if we pivot?
No, please.
I want you guys
to get that out.
All right, no, I got it. I totally understand. So there's a little bit of math that we're going to do, but don't worry about it. It's super simple. I want you to figure out what the profit per buyer side is versus the profit per listing side. And I'm going to take you through a typical scenario conversation. So when Julie and I are speaking with agents, in general, and they're maybe wanting to land the plane with us as being, coaches, or hire one of our coaches, or they're wanting to join with us at EXP, generally speaking, people that are listening to the podcast are going to be more sophisticated than the average agent, and they're going to be more focused on actual net income, right? That's one of our USPs. We want you guys to be rich. Rich is where your money works for you. You no longer have to work for your money. And that's always been a core focus of ours, and always will be. So one of the things we need to have them understand are how unprofitable a lot of the buyer transactions have become. For example, if you are a typical team or a broker who's just running a team broker, hybrid thing, and you are buying your leads, I know this is for all you Zillow Flex agents, all you Zillow Flex teams, all you Zillow Flex brokers, and all the others that are using similar, Realtor.com leads or all the rest of it. When you're paying a referral fee, you're probably, especially if you're delegating that lead to one of your buyer's agents, most likely you're not making any money, and you're rationalizing the expense because you want to have the transaction. And the transaction, is for the sake of what? Awards and trophies.
Showing off your volume.
Showing off, yeah. Exactly, right? I know that's harsh, but it's also true. Oh, and by the way, it's always been true. For the 30 plus years Jules and I have been in this industry, there always have been agents that have put, recognition in front of profit. Matter of fact, I'll say it's the odd agent that doesn't put recognition, awards, banquets, trophies, selling 100,000 million houses and all the rest of it. Most agents will put that over their actual net profit. And they rationalize it by saying, if I build it, they will come. And the they is the profit, and it never does. Because if you're not really intentional about making money in real estate, you won't make it. You will spend it all in pursuit of another transaction. Proof is the fact that agents now across the country are paying 40% on buyer referrals. So let's do the math. Let's say you're pick your broker. And let's say you're in a 90-10 split. I don't know, maybe you're on an 80-20, 90-10, 95-5, doesn't matter. Adjust your math accordingly. Your commission is $10,000. You're on a 90-10 split. You're paying a referral fee. You have a buyer's agent on your team that you're giving that lead to. That transaction, when it's in contract, is going to have a cost associated with it. You've got a transaction coordinator. That transaction coordinator, if you take what you pay them per month and divide it by the number of transactions that they closed, and if you have multiple transaction coordinators, this math still works, you're going to find out that every transaction you're closing is $300 to $500. And then there's other things that maybe you're doing that you're spending money on just for the sake of maintain. Oh, you got your specific program, your CRM program to maintain the buyer leads, and you have your expensive lead follow-up program for the buyers, and so on and so on and so on. So $10,000 off the top goes $1,000 to the broker. That's going to be what the broker takes. From that, the referral fee is paid off the top as well. So you're talking about a 40% referral fee. So that's $3,600 plus the broker's take. That's $4,600. So now you're down by basically half. And then you do all the rest of the math. Oh, the
And you
buyer
haven't even paid your transaction coordinator or your team buyer's agent yet.
and the buyer's agent themselves, what are they working for? They don't care that you're paying essentially, 50% off the top of every one of your deals. So how much are you paying them? You're probably paying them virtually all the money that's might be the remaining 5 grand. And you know what? If you're not, they're working for peanuts per hour for showing those houses and selling
I've
houses.
been doing the math with you, and we ended up at 2,300
Okay, so if you
as a
do the
net.
math and you then start taking off all the other transaction fees, most of the team leaders that I've ever talked to, well, I'll say I've talked to in the last 3 years, that are running teams are making around $1,000, $800 per buyer side transaction. And I've had some who sell, and that's if their average commission is 10 grand. I've had some who are overpaying their buyer agents or have lower sale prices, whose
Yep.
average, they're losing money on every buyer side. Now, I want you to think about everything I just said. This is known math. This is math. This is this has been known inside the industry for at least 20 years. And then when Zillow started selling leads and everyone built these teams of buyers agents, and the buyers agents are like pissed off hungry birds. Leads aren't good. We want better leads, 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 leads. You
Yep.
then get suckered into, because you're not just paying Zillow for buyer lead referral, are you? You're now paying a whole bunch of other companies too. So the next thing you know, any and all profit you could have had from those buyer sides goes out the window. But you rationalize it, and here's how. Because you're not separating the buyer side transactions from the seller side transactions. So if you separate the seller side transactions and you take off, for example, let's just say you're still going on your listing, and I said still going on like it's something like you're suffering, but you're not. It's actually one of the smartest things you could be doing is going on your own listing appointments, pre-qualifying your own listing leads, right? And here's why. Let's say, for example, you go on a listing appointment and you go and whatever the commission is, let's say it's 10 grand, whatever the percent is, let's just say the output's 10 grand. You had some transaction coordination. Let's call that $500. You had to pay a listings coordinator, most of which can be done by AI now, but let's say it's another $500. You had some sign pounding and you had some brochure making and you had some blah, blah, blah. Let's call it another $500. So off that $10,000, you're making $8,500. You guys get it? You're making so much more. Now, here's what happens. You're taking what should have been your profit from that $8,500 listing transaction, and you're taking, again, what should have been your profit, and you're moving it over to the buyer side to subsidize the buyer side transactions. So you might have 5 or 6 or 3 or 2 buyer's agents, but you're subsidizing from what should be your profit, their business. They're making more money per buyer side transaction than you are. Do the math. Now, when you blend it, which a lot of you insist on doing, you're fooling yourself because you're moving your profit to subsidize the other side of the business. These are the unfortunate realities that most of you are experiencing. Not everybody. We have coaching clients that have buyer's agents that the buyer's agents aren't given any leads. They have to do the open houses. They have to do the door knocking. In small towns where there's not a lot of options for the agents to then move over to, the other team or whatever, they're going to do the work. But for the most part, buyer's agents that can, essentially have any sign of possible success, they're heavily recruited. And they can easily bounce from one team or one brokerage to the next. You guys know that. This is the unfortunate truth about what's happened in brokerage and what's happened on these big teams that many of you aren't being made aware of. That goes back to our original point. This is still valid, even if it's just you that's working that buyer side. If it's you that's working that buyer side, Julie already did the math, I'm sure. Okay, with no team, with no buyer agent referral, they're making what, about 4 grand?
4 to 5 if they're lucky.
Yep,
And that
okay.
now keep in mind too, I have to add this color on top. This assumes that you're not blowing. I mean, look at what gas costs right now. You could be into it $1,000 if you take a month to get somebody in contract. You really could, depending on what your car is, right? And it also depends on you actually doing a buyer presentation that results in you making what you're expecting to make and not doing side hustle deals. And I mean, I'm hearing about this more and more of flat fees and, if this happens, then you don't have to pay me. And if that happens, you don't have to pay me, and kind of shoddy work on the buyer presentation side. Your math assumes that everything goes textbook.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you mean you don't have to kick into the deal to save the deal? Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You don't have to compensate for your lack of skill by buying the seller or the buyer a microwave.
Yeah, all that.
Okay,
And I also would put
story
on the
time.
other. Go ahead.
Story time.
Oh, You said
I mentioned
microwave.
microwave. First year in the business, Julie and I sold a house. It was a, what was it? A buyer? No, no, it was to a buyer, wasn't it?
No, it was our listing, and I think that I neglect.
Oh,
No,
it
let's
was.
see.
It was our listing. It
And I
was our
said that it
listing.
included a microwave
No, 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 no.
or
Here's
something
how it
like that.
worked. Okay.
Remind me.
So it was our listing. And if I remember correctly, Julie, this will trigger it with you. It was a for sale by owner. Okay.
No.
We
Yeah.
listed the FISBO and we find a buyer for the house and we sell it ourselves. And the contract is written as it always has been written. It's been written, all appliances are included and all this, carve outs. Okay. So I'm going to tell you this so you guys remember it. If the appliances aren't actually attached to the property, like water lines and a gas line or an electric line, if it's just plugged in, if it's just an appliance and not a fixture, this is, again, read your contracts. That means the seller, like for example, a blender, right? Is a blender an appliance? Well, technically it is, but if the blender is written into the contract, then the blender is included in the contract. Otherwise, obviously, it's not. Well, what if your microwave happens to be effectively like the blender that just sits out all
A
day?
countertop model that plugs in. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's what it was. It wasn't written into the contract. Sure enough, the seller takes the microwave. This is the insanity of it all. I know, guys, if you've been in real estate long enough, you have funnier stories than we have to share. We have another one where the seller took the wall-to-wall carpeting because it wasn't written into the contract,
That's right.
actually removed the carpet from his house, the used carpet from his house. What?
What?
What? Why would you do that? Uh,
Oh, you
and he had
forgot
to pay to
about.
have it. He had to have it paid to have it reinstalled because the carpet was attached to the house. And okay, anyway,
You
so we
forgot
ended
about the
up,
pet cemetery that had to transfer.
well, yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, so we ended up having to buy a microwave for the buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up buying, but okay, so what? Live and learn.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn. And yes, as our old broker used to say, won't do that one again, will you?
What'd that cost you? Yeah.
That was an expensive lesson. Or he'd say
Yes.
like, well, you got that one cheap. They got to take the refrigerator or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Exactly.
yeah.
Point being is that you're more likely to lose money on the buyer side,
Yep.
both in time and money and effort, and your belief that it is going to work out. Now, that's not to say that there aren't textbook buyers that do what they're supposed to do and transact. And we're not anti-buyer. We're just very, very pro listing. There's a difference.
Yep.
And I would also, on your math on the listing side, where you were netting roughly 8,500, I would apply the same math philosophy that assumes that you didn't spin off a whole bunch of business from being a listing agent while you had the listing. It may not be that you made just 8,500 after you netted from your expenses on that actual listing. Maybe you sold it yourself. Maybe you got more listings from in the same neighborhood as you should if you're doing it right on the listing side. Maybe that listing that's the to me that's the starting level, that $8,500 net. That's like your minimum standard that you should be making on a listing.
That's right. And so what do how does this all make sense to you? What do you do with this information? It goes back to what we were saying originally. You have so many, really high, 2 or 3 hours a day where you're really effective. You need to determine where you're going to put those. Are you doing TikTok videos? Are you, working on your brand, working on your Instagram, working on your funnels, trying to create leads by paying Facebook to push them to some ridiculous leads funnel? All these things. That's what most of you guys have done. How's that working out for you? I already told you what percent of the listings in the United States right now are expiring. It's because agents aren't doing the real work of real estate. There's a whole swath of you, most of you, who've come up in the real estate market where, as Julie was saying earlier, houses were selling themselves. Now we went into this new phase where it's started to, well, now it's definitely a balanced market. In some markets, more of a buyer's market. That pendulum's going to swing back and it'll become quicker than you can imagine a really, aggressive seller's market again. Maybe it'll be a year from now. Maybe it'll be 6 months from now, but it always happens. It's the nature of it. Jules and I have been in this business for 3 decades and we've seen it all, ups and downs, sideways markets. It's all normal. But what is always been true, no matter what direction the market's going, who the president is, what the elections are producing, whether the government has or has not confirmed that we're being visited by 4 distinct species of aliens. That happened.
That's right. Not just one. There's
Yeah.
4 of them.
4. That happened. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
No, we're not
Moved
making
on.
that up.
But it doesn't matter. As long as you're a listing agent, you have listing inventory. You have homes for sale. You're like, I always like to talk about Chuck Williamson because he's such a prototypical example. You know, he is in his 40s. He's been in the business forever. He makes millions of dollars per year in personal income. He's one of the top agents at eXp Realty, one of the top agents in our coaching organization at eXp Realty. So he is somebody who does textbook Tim and Julie. He does not do and spend any time on, go try to find Chuck Williamson. And I think it's Wilson, North Carolina. Go try to find him online. You'll see virtually no social media presence because he gets all of his business from going after expireds and for sale by owners, centers of influence, and referrals from all those transactions he's closed. It's textbook. And his margins from every transaction, at least last time I talked to him, was over 90%. Chuck makes 10 grand. Chuck keeps 9.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, why wouldn't you do your business that way? Why? It's because maybe you've never heard this message before. You have now. Can't say you hadn't heard it because you don't have the skill set. That's why. Get the skill set. The skill set to do what we've just prescribed to all of you is, I'm not going to say it's the hardest part is accepting the fact that you need to learn it and then locking in and actually doing it. There it is. That's the hardest part.
But that's easier. I would say that is still easier than not doing it and struggling continuously and having a decade-long failure to launch.
Yeah. Or most of them don't last 10 years trying to launch. They're out in less than 24 months. That's the statistic. So we fired you guys with a bunch of information, a bunch of numbers, a bunch of facts. You know, we're doing this because we're trying to I don't want to say wake you up. Wake you up, right, to what's actually happening in the market. What's happening in the market is a distinct pivot towards being able to be a very powerful long-term listing agent and have a very profitable business like never before. So if you're awoke to that, you'll discover that all of a sudden, all the things you'd hope for yourself. Look, guys, here's an example. If you had 10 listings at all times in your market, even if it were slow, you're going to have 3 of those sell pretty much on autopilot every single month. If the average commission on each of those is $10,000, you're making $360,000 a year. Adjust accordingly. Many of you would have unbelievably great lives for making nearly $400,000 a year. Did I say anything about buyers? Nope. Did I say anything about social media, branding, marketing, and all the rest of it? Nope. Just do the real work of real estate and build an incredibly profitable real estate business. That's why you got into the business, isn't it? You get your license and all of a sudden your hopes and your dreams, because you weren't clear enough with them about what your hopes and dreams were in your mind. All of a sudden there's other people that are telling you what your hopes and dreams should be. Oh, Julie, you're successful. Now you should form a team. Oh, why don't you have this award or this plaque or this, that, and the other? And oh, why aren't you on social media? You need to form your Instagram following, and so on, and so on, and so on. And now you're not living in alignment with your own, hopes and dreams. You're just doing what other people have told you you're supposed to do. What are you thinking, Jules?
Well, that is the definition of being out of control, isn't it?
Yep.
And being out of control is what causes stress. So if you feel stress, it's because you don't have a predictable, duplicatable business yet. You can come to us and we can help you with that. It's probably easier than you think, especially if you've waited a long time. It's not unusual for coaching clients to come to us and they're like, I've been listening to your podcast for 7 years.
Yeah.
Come on.
What the hell are you doing?
Thank you. But you don't have to wait that long. It's okay.
There's people out there. There's thousands of people out there right now laughing as they're drinking their coffee or they're on their treadmill. It's you. Yes, we know. Or watching us, right? You've been listening to us forever and you're like, oh, I'm just not quite ready to do the real work of real estate. I'm going to try a new TikTok dance.
That's what it is. I just need a different one.
Yeah. No. I'm never going to have to do the real work of real estate because I've just figured out how to make AI create the best funnels for me. Woo!
Oh, yes. AI will save it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it won't. AI is going to eat your lunch. Do the real work of real estate, guys. Please see this as your opportunity. Please understand that your best years of your life, in your business, in your personal life, and all your dreams, it could still be ahead of you. You can make tomorrow and the day after so much better than today or the previous days. You can't even believe it. All you got to do is clear the cobwebs out of your mind. If anything is being sold to you as easy, if anyone is telling you something's easy, okay, they're trying to sell you something that everyone else is also buying, which means you're stepping into an arena with the most amount of competitors. Do the hard stuff because so few other people do the hard stuff. Here, I'll talk about Julie and I. We do this podcast every single day. We've done this podcast every single day over 20,000 times. We've been doing this podcast for well over a decade. We think about 14 or 15 years. We started our podcast when we had to explain to people what the hell a podcast was, right? Now, how often did we actually feel like doing this podcast every single day? Julie, be honest.
Not that often.
Right?
Depends on the topic and what was going on, but yeah. Not that often.
But we did the real work.
It's still work. We still, we prepare, and then you've got the after production, all of the things.
Yeah, hours and hours in every one of these shows, but we did it. And so what we knew, and we knew this from all of our previous incarnations, starting with real estate, is you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the prettiest, even though Julie's the prettiest. You don't have to be anything. You can win by outworking your competition. You
don't have to be perfect at it.
Right.
Those of you who are like, I'm getting ready to get started and I just have to polish this, that, and the other thing, just start doing the work. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Jules, they listen to this show every day. They know it doesn't have to be perfect.
True. Yeah.
But it doesn't. There's an old saying that Sheryl Sandberg said this. She said, perfect is the enemy of done. Right. So remember that, to Julie's point. But look, you might not be the youngest, the prettiest, the everything. No most sales skills. You might be, in your mind, too introverted. You might be too old. You might be, I don't even know what your excuse is. It's all a bunch of crap. If you just follow one course until successful, which is focus, and you understand that ultimately most people won't focus for long periods of time. You understand that most people will never do what they don't want to do, and they don't want to do it at the highest level. And then you get to work. The probability of you losing, especially because of this real estate market, I'm not going to say it's zero, but it's pretty damn near zero. That makes sense, Jules?
Yeah, it does. But you do have to get started.
You do.
Yeah. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. That's your new affirmation.
That's right. All right, guys, you have a fantastic day. If you've not yet subscribed to our podcast, make sure you do so on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify. And while you're there, please do give us a 5-star review and a pithy comment while you like the show. As always, if you're over on YouTube, please subscribe there as well. And as always, thank you for keeping this the #1 listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow or anytime, because we have literally tens of thousands of past podcasts. Hello, thank you for having watched this video. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's right. And don't forget to hit that like button, leave your comments and questions below, and we will get right back with you.
Thank you for watching this video. And remember to watch the next one. You're going to love that one.